Alright, this is part 2, 6 ways to make people like you, chapter 1. Do this and you will be welcome anywhere. This is playing off the notion, the mindset of become genuinely interested in other people. And one thing I really like about this book is every chapter it gives you a plethora of different examples to apply the principles being taught. And a big quote that stuck out with me is, "It is in the individual who is not interested in his fellow human being," it says man, I want to say human being, "who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring." So hey, if you're ever in a tough spot in life, work on mindfulness, being grateful, and looking for opportunities and ways in how you can invest your time, your energy, your thoughts into others to help them benefit their life, and you will reap in the rewards of seeing them flourish. There was a cool example of the valet for Theodore Roosevelt sharing a story about just how Roosevelt operated as a human being, taking interest in any and everybody he came in contact with. So I'll just read real quick a little proverb, a little blurb from a book that the valet actually wrote about with his relationship with Roosevelt. So my wife one time asked the president about a bobwhite. I think a bobwhite is a type of bird. She'd never seen one, and he described it on her fully. Sometime later, the telephone at our cottage rang. My wife answered, and it was Mr. Roosevelt himself. He had called her, he said, to tell her that there was a bobwhite outside her window, and that if she would look out, she might see it. Little things like that were so characteristic of him. Whenever he went by our cottage, even though we were out of sight, we would hear him call out, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, Annie, ooh, ooh, James." It was just a friendly greeting as he went by. Again, if you want to make friends, let's put ourselves to do things for other people. Things that require time, energy, unselfishness, and thoughtfulness. Oh! Again, the author uses a plethora of different examples of highly successful political figures where diplomatic relationships are very high and can be tense in a lot of sense. Using that same principle. Oh, sorry, I just lost my page that I was going off of. Also, still going off of another example of Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was big into addressing everybody in the White House by their first name, and took a genuine interest in everybody he came in contact with. And then one of the head butlers made this statement saying he addressed, this is the head butler referring to Roosevelt, he addressed each person just as he addressed them in the past. "It is the only happy day we had in nearly 2 years," and this is a guy who's been serving in the White House for 40 years, and not one of us would exchange it for a $100 bill. Like, that's the power right there of showing genuinosity to people and investing your time and being curious about other people. Genuine interest in other people is the most important quality for a salesperson to possess, but not just a salesperson, for any person for that matter, for any human being. Genuinosity, taking an interest in other people. Oh, that is key. That is key. Going on, pretty much more examples of this. And to finish up, talked about a 10-year-old boy who was in the hospital the day before he has to go through an orthopedic surgery, and he's all alone. As the day went on, he became overwhelmed with the feeling of loneliness, despair, and fear, and he knew his mother was home alone worrying about him. His father already passed away. Not having anyone to be with, not having anyone to eat with, and not even having enough money to afford a Thanksgiving dinner. The tears welled up in his eyes, in my eyes. Hold up. Martin took, of course, New York reported how the special interest nurse took in. Oh yeah, okay. Yep. So this is 10-year-old boy. I wanted to say, leaving off with. Yep. So he stuck his head under the pillows and pulled the covers over. He cried silently, but oh so bitterly, so much that his body raked with pain. And then all of a sudden, a young student heard him sobbing, came over. She took the covers off his face and started wiping his tears. She told him how lonely she was, having to work that day and not being able to be with her family. So again, this is on Thanksgiving. She brought 2 trays over of food, sliced turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and ice cream for dessert. She talked to him and tried to calm his fears. Even though she was scheduled to get off duty at 4 p.m., she stayed on her own time until almost 11 p.m. She played games with him, talked with him, and stayed with him until he finally fell asleep. Many Thanksgivings have come and gone since I was 10. This is referring to the person sharing the story about when they were 10. But one never passes without me remembering this particular one, and my feelings of frustration, fear, loneliness, and the warmth and tenderness of the stranger that somehow made it all bearable. If you want others to like you, if you want to develop real friendships, if you want to help others at the same time as you help yourselves, keep the principle in mind. That principle being, become genuinely interested in other people. Boom. On to the next one. Oh yeah.